6 months have passed since that incident. The world has changed during those 6 months. For one, in the middle of that period, the Queen Zenobia incident took place, in which the FBC director Morgan Lansdale was discovered as the mastermind behind a criminal conspiracy to orchestrate the Terra Grigia panic and cover up the FBC's involvement. As a result of an investigation from anti-bioterror legends Chris Redfield and Jill Valentine, all this evidence came to light and the FBC was dismantled, and the remaining staff given the option to transfer to equivalent positions in the BSAA. But with that being said, Emil and many others were out of a job, and given the option, Emil decided not to take up a position with the BSAA, but we'll get to that in a moment.
Months after their last shared incident, a strange series of events brings the survivors into conflict with the Feliciano crime family and unveils a hidden part of Chauncey's past. This is the story of Resident Roleplay so far.
Resident Evil Roleplay.
In the 6 months following the party's raid on the Manifold facility, the survivors go their separate ways. Arkea commits to a relationship with Kevin and moves in with him down in South Carolina. She also holds a memorial service for her father Aiden and founds a Rose Garden memorial located on a highway just outside Raccoon City, dedicated to those who have given their lives to fight bioterrorism. Chauncey finishes work on his Camaro, fixing it into working order and dubbing it the Black Betty. Desiring to rekindle an old flame, he also tracks down Allie Gold, but finds her down and out, living as a lonesome drunk. He intimidates her into sobriety and, after some reform, she moves in with him. However, she soon begins falling off the wagon as a means to fill the void of the action they saw as cops. To keep her straight, Chauncey pulls some strings to enlist her into his squad in the BSAA. Meanwhile, Emil puts his long-held plans into motion by founding Greenhouse Solutions, a pharmaceutical company based in his hometown of Brunton, Minnesota. He hires a legal team consisting of the lawyers from the Raccoon trials, and acquires ownership of 10K Construction, the company he used to work for. He hires Kevin as the foreman to lead 10K's efforts to build their main facility on a private island in Lake Superior. He also hires Joan Waters, his former second-in-command in the FBC's Combat Medic Division. Being loyal to Emil, she is quick to join and even recruits a couple other former FBC medics to the cause. Through Greenhouse Solutions, Emil begins researching a number of pharmaceutical products, as well as cures for certain ailments. At Emil's next reunion with the Operation Greenhouse survivors, he confronts his ex-army friend Scott Muller, who he suspects of having contacts in the bioterror world. Scott confirms that he worked with Umbrella for a time, and Emil seizes the opportunity to ask for a meeting with the head of the Feliciano crime family. Finally, Katara begins experimentation on the G-virus sample they took from the Manifold facility, as she builds up a private home laboratory. She continues teaching at Simpson College and writes a research paper titled "Viral Research is the Pandora's Box of Science," as part of her pursuit of tenure. However, despite the quality of her paper, she does not manage to acquire a tenured position quite yet. Later, in August of 2005, the survivors' paths converge once again. We return with Arkea, who is seeking vengeance for her parents. She has been living on the road and hunting for leads on the Manifold. One night, she meets a Feliciano gunrunner named Jimmy Sontag at a seedy bar. Convincing him that she wants in on their operation, he instructs her to head to Chicago. Meanwhile, Katara gets a grand tour of the Greenhouse Solutions headquarters.
Pat Turner slows the boat to stop at the shore, allowing you to disembark. And at this proximity, you finally recognize the woman as Joan Waters, who is the former FBC combat medic under Emil's command. She's sort of standing at Emil's side like a lieutenant.
Welcome to my island.
Thank you. It's quite the place. And to see you're here too. That's good. Friendly faces.
Indeed. I just got a little too used to working with Emil.
Yeah, and we have killer medical benefits. Speaking of which, here's my card.
Greenhouse Solutions. Growing a healthier future.
That's us.
It's a good name. I like it.
Thank you. I think it really embodies what I'm trying to go for here. Please follow me.
Emil kind of leads you, Katara, for a short walk through the thick forest tree line. Not far past it, you come across a very large clearing. And in this clearing, a half-built factory rises out of the soil. The area just rings loudly with the sound of construction in full bloom.
As we're approaching, I guess Emil's going to pick up some hard hats, and it's just like, legally, I have to make you wear this hard hat. So he'll show you around. He'll walk you about. Like, none of the actual facility has been erected. Just foundations have been set. There's a lot of digging. He'll point you out to the larger swath of flattened land. He'll tell you that's where the greenhouse of Greenhouse Solutions is going to be erected, and their primary export in the future is looking to be herbs and other herb technology.
That's quite the thing you've got going, I guess.
That's just business. The exciting stuff is going to happen underground. That's where me and you are going to do our work. Of course, have you gotten in contact with Nuria lately? Have you heard anything about her treatment?
I haven't, actually.
Well, so our first product is called Pyridine, and he's going to pull a little bottle out of his pocket with a couple of pills in it. Pyridine, it's a completely synthetic pain reliever. It's used as a treatment for cancer patients. This is technically our first product that we were shipping. If you gesture to Joan, through our field medics here, we've gotten a couple of government grants to be able to be first responders in any outbreaks that may happen in the near future. So we'll still be getting paid to be at the front lines.
Good. I like that.
All with the help of the government. Good old Sam's coming in. Is our foreman working here?
Yeah, Kevin would probably be around here somewhere.
I guess just waving at him as we're doing
you can kind of
rounds.
You see Kevin just off in the distance directing different workers to various tasks and looking over blueprints and things like that.
Even got Kevin in on it. He's our head engineer. And as we're leaving Kevin's earshot, it's also a good way to keep Arkea around close.
Understandable.
Yes, we'll do good work here.
At the end of the tour, Emil receives a text from his friend Scott Muller, which includes an address in Chicago with the words, "Don Feliciano will meet you, but the window is small. 11 a.m. tomorrow." Katara decides to accompany Emil for the trip. Meanwhile, with Chauncey,
because you and Allie, while you were just finishing up your warm vacation in the Bahamas, received a call from your BSAA superiors. There's a situation in Davenport, Iowa. A pack of liquors has been unleashed on a residential area. The police suspect it to be a part of a distraction, since a bank heist is currently underway on the other side of town. While the local SWAT is dealing with the heist, the BSAA has been called in to eradicate the liquors, which are now swarming their way through an apartment complex. The apartments have been evacuated and the building quarantined, and you are currently in the back of a Sea-Knight transport helicopter entering Iowa airspace. Besides you are your fellow Foxtrot 1 squad mates. You see Allie donning a heavy Kevlar vest. You see the clean-shaven, blonde-haired young man that you know as Pistol Grip Pete, kind of shaking his leg impatiently as he holsters his 2 handguns. And the slim young man with the goatee that you know as Newton is on the horn.
With Chauncey's leadership, Foxtrot 1 quickly dispatches the liquors and secures the area. In the aftermath, a relief team from Greenhouse Solutions, led by Joan Waters, arrives to clean up the mess and treat the wounded civilians. However, Chauncey then receives some cryptic text messages from his sister Cambria, who seems to have gone missing while looking into the Clancy family's history. Chauncey returns to his hometown of Chicago to begin his search for his sister. First, he visits Castle Cemetery on the outskirts of the city, where his mother Helen Clancy and his adopted father Samuel Abrams were buried. However, he finds nothing of interest. He later consults the local police, from whom he discovers that Cambria's search led her to the Feliciano crime family. After discovering that they all happen to be in town for a similar purpose, the party reunites in a cafe and makes plans. Chauncey and Katara agree to accompany Emil as security to his meeting with Don Feliciano at the family's manor. Jimmy Sontag eagerly offers Arkea a ride to the manor separately, to which she agrees. The party then drives to the manor grounds, just in time for their 11 a.m. meeting. Chauncey, Emil, and Katara enter the stunning mansion, and head from the foyer to a side room where they meet with Don Ernesto Feliciano and his consigliere Antonio Marconi, both of whom are flanked by multiple guards. However, the negotiations soon take a dramatic turn.
Well, you make quite a sales pitch, Emil. Well, needless to say, I'm very interested in your product. And investing in a business like yours is something of great interest to me professionally. You come in here waving this stuff around and you make some pretty big assumptions.
I apologize. What assumptions am I making?
Well, for one, you assume quite a lot about the manner of our relationship with the Manifold. Now, yeah, it's true. They split off from us. And yeah, maybe they burned us a little bit in the process, but we still keep our connections there. Now, I would really love to take you up on your offer. But you and this rat pack you've been running with, they've been quite a thorn in Walker's side for quite a while. Might be worth a lot more sending you all over to him.
Bag it. Bag it.
Furthermore, he kind of looks over at Chauncey and kind of looks back at Marconi and is just like, "You sure that's the guy?" He's like, "Yeah, it's the one Leonardo Bellucci's been talking about."
I trank him.
You trank the consigliere?
No, the Don.
All right. So
I was gonna say,
I want to know why he wants me. I need to know.
We'll get him. Don't worry. We'll get why.
I'm gonna sleep.
kind of just like reaches up, pulls it out of his neck and looks over at you. He's just like, "I commend your effort." And he stands up from his seat, towering over you now. He's just like, "But I'm afraid this meeting is over. Take him, boys." And him and the concierge just start to walk out of the room.
After negotiations turn hostile, the party fights their way through a horde of mobsters, one of whom bursts into the lobby wielding a chainsaw. In the eastern wing of the mansion where Archaea had been brought, Jimmy Sontag attacks her in the midst of this fray. One by one, the gangsters assault with guns and knives and bats, but the party's superior firepower soon prevails. After the fight, the party runs out to retrieve Emil's gear from the Black Betty, before the entire mansion comes under siege by an army of Feliciano thugs. Trapped inside, they explore the manor, solving various puzzles and collecting items of use while looking for a way out. In trying to contact the outside world, they also discover that a signal jammer on the property has blocked their communications, and will need to be dealt with if they are to call for help. Then, just when they least expect it, Archaea decides to waltz out the front door and present herself to the army waiting outside. But Emil, leaping from the balcony, snipes a few thugs and manages to rescue her and drag her back inside, where he and Chauncey berate her while Katara starts drinking the mansion's wine supply. After they seem to have brought Archaea back to her senses, they regroup and start moving towards the second floor as one. In search of a way out, the party explores the second floor. There they encounter a group of thugs tracking them with wolf-based BOWs that they refer to as colmillos. Upon defeating a few of those thugs, parasitic creatures emerge from their heads, indicating that these gangsters are somehow infected, though they behave like normal humans. Dissecting the corpses, Emil and Katara find that each of these thugs has a parasitic organism attached to their spines, a type of bioweaponry that none of them had yet seen. Meanwhile, Chauncey discovers a note written by Consigliere Marconi, indicating that his missing sister Cambria is being held on the estate grounds. They also learn from this note the location of a few key items, as well as the threats that protect them, namely the D'Antonio brothers guarding the Skull Key in the mines, and one called Big Billy on standby in case they fail. Afterwards, they fight their way through the BOWs in the basement, where they find more fragments of an emblem that might open a way of escape through the back door. But they're still in need of more. Unlocking new doors on the second floor, the party makes their way to the rooftop. In the dark and creepy attic, they encounter a couple animated sets of knight armor, which swing at them with axes. They soon find parasites controlling these armors from within. While dispatching them, Chauncey disarms one of their axes and takes it for himself. After defeating these creatures, they use a ladder to access the rooftop, where they find Antonio Marconi, the consigliere of the Felicianos. Archaea attempts diplomacy, but when that fails, the rest of the party rushes him.
I'm going to reach to grab the axe, lifting it up and over my shoulder and heaving it forward in a spinning fashion. Everybody should think that I'm aiming for Marconi, but I'm actually aiming for the unit.
And the axe lodges into the device. You see it sparking and just like starting to malfunction a bit as the meters go kind of haywire.
As I was going to throw the axe with the momentum going forward, I'm also going to just rhino charge this guy and lift him up and thrust him into said axe that lands. That was the whole plan.
Can I instead use this action to fire a shot to give Chauncey help?
Okay.
Oh.
I would say yeah. Yeah, so you just started...
Yeah,
and
but it's
Chauncey,
like covering fire.
Yeah, we'll treat it as covering fire, and we'll say, Chauncey, you get advantage on your athletics check.
Oh,
nope,
no,
it's not happening. And you knock him back. You just like bull rush him, full on shoot for like a wrestling takedown, take him out from the legs, and just slam him onto the device, which you stabbed with this great axe. And as it is sparking, and you slam him against the axe, pushing it even deeper into the machine, begins to spark and combust a little bit before suddenly there's a little explosion which envelops Marconi in flames. And as this flame kind of wreathes around him, and you see his dapper suit just start to catch fire. Yeah, okay, we try to do this the easy way. Takes the fedora off his head.
Excuse me?
And he's just like, I think I'm gonna have to teach you a lesson.
The signal jammer is destroyed. In response, Marconi mutates into a larger, monstrous form. The party battles this mutant Marconi, and with their firepower ultimately defeats him. But not before he grabs and flings Archaea from the rooftop down to his men below. Emil, resolving that no one may have Archaea if he can't, leaps from the rooftop and takes drastic action.
I have the bait in my hands. Chauncey looks over, and then he just hears, use this! And I'm dashing over.
Yeah, you are jumping, but you can't clear 20 feet, so... And as you arrive, Archaea is being carted off by this crowd.
Yeah, okay, so his action, panel Big Pharma, I'm going to down a whole ton of experimental drugs. So I cast treat wounds on myself at max level. Bonus action, stab the nearest guy next to me. Hippocratic Oathbreaker, apply poison. 33 points of damage.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, no, that guy is dead.
Could Katara have reloaded and just shot one explosive round into that crowd?
Okay, so first of all, what's Chauncey doing?
I don't know.
All right, so Chauncey, we'll say Chauncey froze for now. Katara.
So I guess since like she doesn't see them heading to a car or anything, she's just gonna go through and clear like a path near Emil.
And that explosive round just obliterates everybody. You see some bodies flying through the air like it's World War II out of this mound of dirt that shoots up.
Flashbacks to Guatemala, or wherever I was. Argentina, I think.
While that happened, I ran from here to this corner and picked up the gun and on the way.
The rifle?
Whoever is carrying her, I'm popping domes.
She's currently being held aloft by like 4 different people.
Try to hit 3 of them in the face, so let's go.
Hits,
Yeah.
you kill one guy.
Everything you can do to hit
hits. Another guy gets his head blown off. Doesn't hit. The third guy, you just like fire a round down and just like it just skids across the dirt besides him. But you do see at the corner, which is like far off the screen westward, a figure in a suit, much larger than the others. Yeah, kind of square shoulders, say about 6'5". You do see the dawn rounding the corner.
Can I throw the rifle down towards Emil and jump over the side here? Not towards Archaea, but onto that little landing, like onto the one to the west.
So, rifles down
just
here.
Like, keep it right out there, just as I jump, like all Katara can see is me just disappear over the side. Oh, there you go.
Katara's gonna run over here like, yo, hold up.
The crowd gets to take their attack. You take 5 damage from each hit. A bunch of bullets just start flying in your direction. A bunch are gonna kind of swarm
Stabs.
you. Bladed weapons and axes and, you know, some of the vineyard workers and stuff like that. Okay, so you only take 6 points of damage from that crowd. You do see a massive figure ahead of you, cutting through the crowd, and thank you for bringing this to my attention. It seems we got some stragglers trying to keep us from collecting our prize. I'll have to take care of this. Dashing with 80 feet of movement, he does get to you.
And like whenever he would have been underneath me, I would have pounced him.
You drop down.
Yeah, right in front of him, too.
8 points of bludgeoning damage, and you fall prone. I'll say you can take an opportunity attack if you'd like as he's moving past.
I'm going to pistol whip him because I had the magnum out.
Doesn't hit. He just keeps on running.
Because what I want to do is I want to lob an explosive grenade.
Yeah, you could easily get only him. And a few other Ganados that just splatter off.
That's not even my full movement. That's half my movement to get there.
That she would have gotten dragged another 30 feet that way.
I'll use my full movement, my full haste movement of 60 feet to get there.
First of all, out of his sleeve, a long tentacle shoots out at you.
That does not hit.
Not with your haste, yeah. So you run out over there.
I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I'm going to full attack Arkea.
Okay.
Roll first attack with advantage because she is unconscious.
Not.
With the bayonet.
19 hits.
So that's 2 death saves.
That's 2 death saves that she fails.
Oh, honey, you're good.
So
You don't have to worry.
I run past everybody and basically plunge the knife into Arkea's chest, dripping with poison.
And
I'm going to leave it there. Turn around and look at the big boss and say, I have no purpose left on this earth. Do with me what you will.
After this is all said and done, and her last breath escapes her, all these mafia thugs just like start wrestling with you, grabbing you. Don Feliciano walks up towards you, now very slowly compared to his quickened pace from before. His hand's kind of behind his back. Well, that's a darn shame. Mr. Walker's not going to be too happy about that. But nonetheless, we still have use of you. We'll continue with our plans. Not going to be too much trouble, are you?
Mill says nothing.
Take him to the labs. And the men that are just kind of like wrestling with you start dragging you away. And he sees Chauncey lying about.
As I see like her fall limp, can I just kind of like hit my knees, like drop to my knees in agony? I pull out my magnum and as the Dawn's looking towards me, shoot him.
All right, go ahead and roll your 3 attacks.
I'm that guy.
So you fired these 3 rounds. They all impact against his chest. Well, you shouldn't have done that. And you see the wounds on his chest beginning to seal, and these almost vein-like protrusions moving along his hands as he holds out his hand. And one of the magnum shots that you fired at him just shoots out like a projectile from his palm, strikes off of the shoulder of your armor, doesn't quite do any damage. You're lucky a very good friend of mine wants you alive.
You're lucky I'm out of ammunition. It's like spitting in his face, kind of screaming at him.
Standing defiant, and he's gonna make a quick 4 slam attacks against you. So those first 2 hit.
Yes, I'm still alive. Do your worst. I am in danger though. So don't do much worse, please.
And he just like clenched his fist and just like started throwing down punches against you.
I'm going to like give him the big middle finger and be like, you took everything from me. And then run into his house. This is my house. And run.
Before you get far, he just like tentacle wraps around you that comes out from his sleeve and pulls you right back to him. You're not going anywhere. My family built this house from nothing. And you are nothing to me.
Just reach my karambit and just like start jabbing at whatever's holding on to me like, no! We're all dead, guys. What happened? All 3 hit.
Mm-hmm. Still got his grip on you. Yeah, now what are you doing, son? You see like all these like cuts that you just made on his tentacle just start to seal up once again as if you hadn't done any damage. Clenches his fist again, and he's gonna make another full round of attacks against you.
As that's happening, would my call to Maya ever come through by this point?
Yeah, I mean it would have probably at some point while you're on the rooftop, and she's hearing all this transpire, I suppose. She's just like, Chauncey, what's going on?
Like, I'm not gonna make it. It's bad.
Where are you?
Feliciano Manor.
What's going on? What kind of reinforcements do you need? Are you tied up with those gangsters?
I'm tied up. This is real. There's something going on. It's something we haven't dealt with before.
What are you talking?
But it's
like
definitely
bioweapons?
the
BSA is gonna want to get in on this. That is one of the last things you hear before these pound-ins start coming for you.
Okay, that's not good.
With that, as he's got you like held up with this tentacle and just suspending you in the air in front of him, pulling you closer, he reaches back with his other hand, and you see like these couple of rings, elegant-looking, expensive-looking rings, and he just like just jabs you until you stop moving. You are currently unconscious.
So I'm not dead? I'm just knocked out?
Well, he said he wanted you alive. He was doing non-lethal damage.
Oh, he did want me alive!
Katara, if you're looking from above, you would see him just sling Chauncey over his shoulder and motion to some of the other Ganados. Yeah, clean up whatever's left, if anybody. You know where to find me.
Arkea is dead. Emil and Chauncey are captured. Katara is alone in the manor. In this, their darkest hour, the party is scattered and fallen. Katara, now alone on the roof, retreats to the attic and hides. There she answers a call from Maya, in which she updates Maya on the current situation. She also learns that the BSAA has been deployed and is en route. Minutes later, 3 Feliciano thugs find their way up to search for her. However, one of the 3 turns on the others and kills them. This mysterious operative, Loryn's new player character, then searches the attic, but fails to find Katara. Meanwhile, with Chauncey.
After you got knocked out, your ears are ringing, your vision's blurred and fading in and out with your consciousness. Your vision fades in. You see green, grass, maybe leaves. You fade out. And you fade back into blurred gray. You feel your legs drag across hard concrete. And then you fade out. You fade back in. Your arms are restrained to a chair. Your blurred sight spots a woman in a white coat. You can't see her clearly, but as her arm outstretches towards you, a syringe comes into focus. You feel something pierce your neck, and you fade back out. As you fade in, you hear a muffled voice kind of in the distance. Your vision begins to clear, but you realize you're only seeing really out of one eye. But you feel some cloth and maybe like bandage type appendages that covering the other. Around you is a dark, dank room, lit only by a harsh yellow lamp hanging above. You're tied to a chair, and you feel someone rocking behind you. They're tied to a chair at your back in a similar manner. The kind of muffled sense of sound also subsides, and you hear more clearly, Chauncey! Chauncey! Quit slacking, wake up!
I blink furiously, like trying to get to my senses. Who's there? Who's this?
It's me, Cambria. It's about time you're coming too.
So wait, where are we?
Like if I know. I mean, I was brought here with a bag over my head. Can't much retrace my steps. What about you? You remember anything?
Last thing I remember, it was so bad. We were at the mansion and all hell broke loose, and all I can remember is what the Dawn did. The Dawn, he grabbed me, and then I'm here.
You met Don Feliciano.
I don't think I met him the way I wanted to. But yes.
I don't think most people do. Hopefully the old Clancy duo can figure out how to get out of this situation. I guess it's only 2/3 of the Clancy trio, isn't it?
Yeah. Did they inject you with anything?
Yeah, they did. They have some sort of parasitic BOW. Sounds kind of familiar, but it's not my area of expertise. But from what I understand, it has some sort of controlling properties. It wants to control us. It doesn't surprise me at all that he inject you. Oh, you don't know? And at that point, that door barges open and you see a gentleman enter into the room. He looks to be a older man, early 60s. He's got salt and pepper hair, slicked to one side, and a well-trimmed goatee. He wears a black suit and a long-tailed overcoat with a pair of dark leather gloves over his hands and well-polished dress shoes on his feet.
Chauncey, I see you're awake.
I give him the one eye stare as he's like pacing around.
I've been looking for you a long time, Chauncey. I'm glad I finally found you.
Again, staring at him.
Well, nothing to say for yourself, huh?
So I'm gonna break a little bit and be like, you don't even want me to start with you right now. I don't even know who you are. Just like, I finally snap, like, you're gonna tell me everything you want, but I'm the one being interrogated.
Yes, of course. Where are my manners? My name is Leonardo Bellucci. And your name, I believe, is Chauncey Clancy. Took your mother's name, I see. Figures.
Oh, I didn't have a father.
How you doing now?
What are you talking about? Like, how? Who are you? What is this to me? Like, who's my daddy? Kind of thing.
You haven't figured it out, have you? It's me, Chauncey. You're my son. You and Cambria. And apparently this Charles. You're all my children. And I'm sorry.
I, like, shaking my chair, like, as he's saying this, trying to pull loose.
And you just like convulse in place, shaking the chair that Cambria's attached to. And she's just like, come on, hold it, Chauncey.
We lost our mother to him. We lost you to him. Who's this guy? Who's this guy to come into our lives now? Glad Charles isn't here.
I'm sorry I couldn't be there for you growing up, Chauncey. You see, back then, I wasn't a real man. I was a coward, and I loved Helen. But when I found out that she was pregnant with the three of yous, I acted like a coward. I ran and I never looked back. But now you're here. Fate has brought us together, and we can be the family we were always meant to be.
In a rage, be like, oh, you're so much of a coward now. Unbind me from these ropes and we'll see how much of a coward you really are.
I was afraid that would be your reaction, Chauncey. I was hoping you'd at least be a little bit more respectful than your sister.
Oh, you picked the wrong Clancy to think's respectful. If anything, you had the best chances with her.
Oh, that's disappointing to hear. I mean, look at you. Sorry, by the way, about what happened to your eye. My boss didn't seem to take it easy on you. I heard about how things went down. And again, I apologize. That wasn't my intention that anything go this way. But I heard you fought valiantly. And you didn't give up even in the face of hopelessness. You see, you got the Bellucci blood in you. I see so much of myself in you.
I'm not a coward.
Neither am I. Not anymore. There's a lot of hard lessons I learned in that time of my life. But I'm more than 30 years older now. I'm wiser. I've gained a lot of years and a lot more experience, and if I could do things differently, I would. But it seems if you're so intent on being so rebellious, well, it doesn't much matter anymore. Mr. Walker has given us these plagas to be able to control people. We're gonna be a family, whether you like it or not.
Furiously shaking in my chair, rocking it back and forth as much as I can, like, you're not gonna do nothing to me. I will fight you every day, even with the plagas on me. I will fight you. You will never control me.
That's too bad. I'm sorry you feel that way. I wish this could have all been done voluntarily. But I'm afraid time's not on your side. Sister Cambria here has even less time than you have. And it's only a matter of time before you're gonna change your mind about that. Why don't you sit here? I'll just be in the other room and you think about what you've done.
And he walks out.
What I've done? I'm freaking out as he's walking out. What I've done? You haven't done anything. I'm just losing my mind. As he shuts the door to Cambria, did he tell you how much time you have?
Takes about 24 hours for this plaga to take hold. I was injected this morning. By tomorrow morning, I'll be like one of those thugs. One of their puppets.
And he just fumbles on his words. We're going to figure this out. We're going to get out of this. We're going to do this. You're not going to be controlled by them. We'll find something to make you better. There's nothing that's going to stop me from making sure you're safe.
Well, I trust you. Listen, how's I was pretty conscious when they gave me the injection. I understand there's a laboratory somewhere around here. I don't know where. They put a bag over my head whenever they move me, but there's definitely a lab somewhere. And I think I overheard some of them talking about some sort of removal device. I think it might be what we need. We need to find a way out of here. Are you with anybody?
I was. Not anymore.
1 hour later, Foxtrot team arrives in an effort to rescue their captain. However, local politics gets involved and they are given orders to stay put outside the gates of the estate. But one team member, nicknamed Pistol Grip Pete, is more concerned for Chauncey's life than playing by the rules, and disobeys those orders to infiltrate the manor on his own. Bursting inside, Pete runs into the mysterious operative that was searching for Katara. The operative identifies himself as a CIA agent by the name Jason, who had been tailing Emil. Together, they search the manor and eventually regroup with Katara, who gets them up to date with the situation. She also forces open a safe in Don Feliciano's bedroom that contains blackmail material on local politicians. Joining forces, Katara, Pete, and Jason complete the emblem to unlock the back door, escape the manor, and explore the rest of the estate grounds. In doing so, they find a nondescript cabin, a mysterious hole in the ground covered by a tarp, under which they hear loud breathing, and a large prison complex that they believe may house Chauncey. Realizing the key to the prison complex is in an underground mine to the west, they follow a trail into the forest, encountering some traps and a familiar merchant along the way, before finally arriving at the mouth of a cave just as evening draws near. Within the depths of the mines, the group of three encounters new bug-like BOWs, the Novastadors, some of which display cloaking capabilities. After a brief skirmish, they overpower these creatures, reactivate the central minecart, and ride it across a huge chasm, fighting off a few flying Novastadors along the way. Arriving on the other side, they follow the main tunnel deeper. At one point, they detour into a side chamber with an underwater tunnel. Katara uses her mutation to grow gills and webbed appendages for swimming, and uses these new powers to explore the underwater tunnel. She arrives at a small chamber which houses a skeleton and a few valuable items, then returns to the group. However, on her way back through the underwater tunnel, she is ambushed by a tentacle that slithers out of the wall. She preoccupies this creature by throwing the skeletal corpse towards it, which gets grabbed and pulled into a maw camouflaged in the wall as she swims away. Regrouping with the others, the party arrives at the final chamber. There they learn through some news clippings of the Feliciano family's history, including how they came to acquire this land and these mines. They also notice the skull key needed to enter the prison in clear view on a nearby platform. However, with careful observation, they also notice a blind spot where enemies may be hidden beneath that platform, which Katara then blows up with her grenade launcher. Sure enough, two hidden foes wielding mining drills emerge, but being injured from the explosion, they don't last long before the party finishes them off. With the D'Antonio brothers dealt with, they retrieve the key and exit the mines. Upon returning to the fields, the party finds a pair of Feliciano thugs awakening the monster that lies within the massive pit. Out of the pit climbs a gigantic humanoid creature, the Gigante. After a long and devastating fight, which includes many close calls, they ultimately defeat the Gigante and make their way inside the prison building where they rest and recover. Inside, they free a prisoner named Sarah Black, Lisa's new player character. She is a medical doctor and the sister of their ally Kevin Larson. Sarah explains that she has been captured by the Felicianos for reasons she doesn't entirely understand, but believing the party to be interested in helping her brother, she accompanies them deeper into the prison. Within a torture chamber, they fight a tall man with clawed gauntlets whose eyes are gouged out. After defeating him, they also find a chest containing Chauncey's belongings. Using a newfound key from the clawed man's body, they enter an enormous area with a large plant-like creature affixed to the wall. And in the room behind that chamber, they find bound to a chair, back-to-back with Cambria, their ally and friend, Chauncey Clancy. The party frees Chauncey and his sister Cambria from their bonds, which prompts some conflict in the process.
Thanks, Pete. Say, where's the rest of your unit? It's just like, Well, I'm afraid I'm Lone Ranger in it for now. The brass ran into some red tape, so I mean, I wasn't about to sit around and wait for them out there. After hearing
Is there like a
Chauncey's in danger.
nearby?
A chair? I mean,
Yeah,
there's the
like
two
a chair.
chairs that you guys were seated on.
I'm just like I'm gonna grab it by like the top and like toss it up against the wall or something. Hopefully it breaks and be like, "What? You disobeyed direct orders? What are you thinking? What were you even thinking, dude? Like,
What am I thinking? I'm thinking you're in trouble and you needed my help.
I don't think you're thinking right. You never break order, never, unless I tell you otherwise, and I didn't tell you.
Don't disobey orders unless I tell you to disobey orders.
Yeah, we don't break rules unless I break rules. We know this. Only I'm allowed to break the rules around here.
Yeah.
Wait. Chauncey, we came here for you. I would think it's okay this time because we're getting you out.
I thank you, Tara, but this isn't what was meant to happen. You guys should have just left this be. You guys should have went to safety. You guys know that it's gotten too bad if I'm the one who got taken away. Did you guys even come across Arkea or Emil at all?
No.
I grab the other chair and slam it.
Scatters across the floor.
Let's get everybody out of here.
From across the room, you can just hear like, "About time! I hate looking at this."
Does he look familiar to me?
So, as you approach the torture chamber, you do meet the one called Jason. And
Captain
yeah,
Clancy.
he does look very familiar to you. This is the one you recognize as your old arch nemesis, Mr. G.
Can I punch him in the face? That's all I want to do. So I look at him and be like, "Oh, you!" and just hit him in the face. I punched like something real close to him.
We'll get to that later. We gotta go.
Yeah, you're lucky I can only see it. Well,
Why? What?
Oh, we've got history.
Okay.
yeah, you can call it that.
Chauncey, of course, recognizes Jason as Mr. G, the assassin that works for Mr. Fox and that had accompanied him to Rockford Island years prior. The party then sends Pete to escort Sarah off the premises. However, on their way out of the building, they are confronted by Leonardo Bellucci, the underboss of the Felicianos.
So, your friends came to help you, I see. Well, it's good to see you're personable enough to have this many friends.
Technically not here.
Well, you're going to introduce me to your friends, Chauncey and Cambria. Or am I gonna have to introduce myself?
Well, introductions are best made personal. Like you guys meet my dad, and then I'm gonna shoot whatever gun I have.
In response, the massive plant on the wall absorbs Bellucci along with a nearby invisible Novastador, transforming them into an amalgam in the form of the Queen Plaga. The fight is tough and grueling. Spider-like plagas crawl out of the walls. With her fists and feet, Cambria fights these smaller creatures off, as Mr. G snipes from a high walkway, and Katara and Chauncey open fire from the ground. During the battle, Chauncey is eaten. He attempts to shoot his way out of the monster's belly, but finds himself too inhibited to do so, as acid begins to digest him. But after some effort, Chauncey manages to escape. In doing so, he finds that multiple party members are down. Then, at the last possible moment, Chauncey lands a killing shot.
How do you want to do this?
Does he say anything? Is he like?
I'm disappointed you chose this way, son. I would have preferred we part on happier terms.
As I let off those last rounds, I'm going to tell him, well, it seems to me that my friends are more like my family, and just light him up. Just
As you say that and you butt the AR into your shoulder, take careful aim into his center of mass, climbing all the way up with a kick across his torso. He shudders side to side with each hit. You see the fleshy creature, this large parasitic Queen Plaga, begin to disintegrate.
After learning that Cambria is infected with the Plaga, the party sends her off to safety and remains on the estate to search for the on-site laboratory in an effort to cure her. After some investigation, they find a secret lab entrance in the floorboards of the cabin they had searched earlier. Though Mr. G succeeds in hacking the main entrance, they opt instead to infiltrate quietly through the vents. While crawling through, they eavesdrop on a conversation in the communications room, where they see Don Feliciano and 2 others communicating through a screen to a man they'd heard much about, but had never before seen.
That individual is the one that you guys recognize as Don Feliciano. But you also see, if you would look toward the monitor, another individual that he seems to be communicating with. And he's kind of a middle-aged man with fair skin, short, frazzled black hair, and really bright, almost seemingly glowing blue eyes. But he looks, tall and slender, and he's wearing like this navy blue suit, including like a light blue dress shirt and a dark tie. You guys see the man on the screen is in the middle of talking, and he's just like, "I understand the situation is still ongoing." The Don responds, he's like, "I can assure you, Mr. Walker, it's under control." But just as he finishes that sentence, you hear a loud as the doors to the room barge open. And you see 2 people actually walking into the room. One of them in this green cargo jacket with a rifle slung over his back and cargo pants as well. And his partner, who's walking alongside him, who's like this hooded figure in a trench coat carrying a sheathed katana. And just as they barge in, the man in the cargo jacket just goes, "No, actually, it's not. The last survivors are still running rampant, and they've received some unforeseen reinforcements. They're proving quite formidable. Antonio and Leonardo are dead." The man on the screen goes, "I see. This is unfortunate, but of little consequence. Archaea's remains are now in our hands, and we seem to have gained a new ally out of this." The cargo jacket guy responds, "What are the other survivors? Just say the word and I'll intervene. You know Ronan and I can take them." "If they're proving formidable, then perhaps they may even best the 2 of you." "You know I won't allow that to happen." "Well, I appreciate your enthusiasm, Scott. We've waited too long to take chances. You will have your time to confront them, and when you do, it will be on our terms. Proactive, not reactive. I'm pulling you and Ronan out of there. They can have this location for all I care. The Felicianos can fall. But I still have need of the 2 of you. So leave." You see the man kind of stir for a bit before just saying, "Yes, sir." You see him and the figure that you guys know as Ronan just waltz back out of the room. "As for you, Ernesto, continue your defense. Kill the intruders. Then destroy any evidence of bioweapon experiments before the BSAA enters. With all due respect, Mr. Walker, my consigliere is dead. My right-hand man is dead. Our numbers are dwindling. You can't expect me to..." And in that moment, you see all of a sudden he just stops in the middle of his sentence and just like clutches his chest and falls to one knee. It's just like, "Is that hesitance I hear in your voice, Don Feliciano? I have given you great power. Use it. If you die, then you give your life in service of a higher cause. Are my words understood?" And he's still clutching his chest. Just, "Yes, Mr. Walker, anything you say." And then all of a sudden, and he rises back to his feet. "Good. Then see to the task. Goodbye, Don Feliciano." Katara, if you were to look through the vents and catch a glimpse of the figure before suddenly the screen goes blank, you would definitely recognize the figure that's on the screen. This is the man you knew back at Nest as Elliot Walker.
Inside the labs, the party stealthily kills a few guards. They also find 2 prisoners locked up in cells. One a thug named Joey, and the other a scientist named Dr. Annabelle Campbell. Joey seems harmless enough and just wants to get out. But once Dr. Campbell informs them that Joey is infected with the Plaga and is only locked up until he fully turns, Mr. G shoots him dead in his cell. Dr. Campbell freely gives the party information about the facility, including what keycards they need, and promises to help them defeat Don Feliciano if they help her escape. Though she does warn that the Don is vastly more powerful than any other Plaga infectee she has seen. In the communications room, they find the stolen battery for Chauncey's car as Mr. G attempts to hack into their systems. But in the midst of this, a familiar figure appears on the screen behind them.
"Still rummaging around my place, I see." The monitor has turned back on again.
Elliot?
"Katara, been a long time.
It has. Where have you been?
Around. I'm sure your friend back there would like to know, but I'm afraid you're not going to find anything on that. Again, from the shot is kind of from his thighs upward. You see his hands are just sort of idle at his sides. His fingers are almost fidgeting a bit, like he doesn't know what to do with them. He's kind of looking a little bit off of where the lens would be. Almost like if you're in conversation with him, he wouldn't be making eye contact.
What'd you do with Archaea? I know you have something to do with this.
You'll find out more about Archaea soon enough. But for now, I don't owe you any answers.
You're gonna die for it, though. No matter what I find out.
You threatening me, Captain Clancy?
That's just how business goes.
I am.
Chauncey Clancy, born 1970, one of 3 illegitimate children of Helen Clancy and Leonardo Bellucci. Tell me, how's the mortgage on that house in Stony Brook, Pennsylvania?
Perfectly fine, sir. Especially since I'm gonna be taking this place over soon.
Oh, you can certainly attempt that. But I hear your brother Charles is on tour in Iran as a Marine. Wouldn't that be unfortunate if the insurgents there were to receive intel on his firebase?
If you haven't learned yet, Clancy's stand up to fight, so he'll be ready for it.
Well, I'm afraid you're missing my point. You see, there's nothing you could threaten me with that I cannot return tenfold. That is the kind of power that I have. You see, power is control. Control over circumstances, control over people, control over the world. That's power. Many pursue it and fail, but that's only because they don't know what it is. But I see things clearly from where I stand. Control is everything.
Like spitting at whatever webcam I'm looking at and just be like, pick a time and a place. I'll be there. I'll show you true power.
I hope you'll have your opportunity and survive long enough to see that day come. I'm a little disappointed in your choice of company, though, Katara.
Well, originally, everything wasn't meant to be how it did, but I've come to accept them as friends and more.
Like I said, disappointing. You have a brilliant mind, Katara. You are meant for more.
My company has nothing to do with my mind. You needn't be disappointed. They are just as capable as I am. They have their own unique set of skills, as do I. You can't judge them without knowing things full on. And I've been with them for a while. Or at least, this one. Just points to Chauncey. I just met that one.
Katara Sophia Oswald, born 1960 to Alicia and David Oswald. Tell me, how are your parents liking their new home at 1684 Ankeny Road in Des Moines?
I'm sure they're liking it just fine.
Well, in 7 days, the Russians will sell intercontinental ballistic missiles to extremists in Afghanistan. That'd be very unfortunate if their targeting matrix was to somehow be compromised.
Huh.
That is what power looks like. But as for you, you're the only one I can't seem to get any beat on. That one back there is a mystery. Granted, he hasn't been on my radar too long. I'm sure if he continues to become a problem, there's something that I can find out about you.
I'm sure there is. I'm not hiding.
He's got like those blue eyes, but now that you're getting a closer look at the screen, you see that they're a rather bright, almost glowing blue. Katara, actually, you would know that he did not have blue eyes when last you knew him.
Tell me, Elliot, how did you end up escaping Raccoon City?
I got lucky, I suppose. Like I said back then, I wasn't the man that I am now. But I had some forewarning from an old friend who owed me a favor in the USS. When James Grimson gave me a call, told me that the USS was going down a hit list once the outbreak was looking to be in full motion. They went after my mentor, William Birkin, first. But I made sure to make myself scarce before they came to me. But of course I didn't want to leave without any trinkets. I hit the cabin facility, made sure I stole some samples, some data, unleashed an outbreak on that place on my way out just to cover my tracks, and then been on the run ever since. But that data, that virus. It was enough to make me a few friends. These Felicianos. They took me in, along with Simmons, and now I don't work for the Felicianos anymore. They work for me. You could see almost moving parts if you, like, stare too long into his eyes. Like some little pieces rotating and moving like a interface.
Don't remember your eyes looking like that.
Like I said, things have changed a lot since we last met. Although I heard through the grapevine that you had a run-in, that Umbrella unleashed one of my old creations. Tell me, do you have any valuable combat data you could give me about Artemis while we're chatting?
It's dead. We killed it.
I guess I'm curious. Like, with his eyes, could she tell that he's, like, evolved whatsoever?
I'll say make a quick science check. Let's see what kind of theories that come to mind.
Nat 20.
Oh. He's actually a robot.
I should have never asked. No. Well, first of all, just taking a glimpse at his eyes, it doesn't look virus-based. It doesn't betray anything in your research that you've seen as being signs of infected, because there's nothing organic looking about it. Like I said, it looks a lot like almost a UI that's moving around in his eye. Almost something holographic or something of that nature. You do notice he has what look to be surgical scars kind of around the edges of his face. Most of it's obscured by his hairline, but if you kind of like look a little lower, you could start to notice some telltale signs of extensive incisions and surgery.
I can at least tell something has changed. Those surgical scars that you have there. What was that about? Those eyes aren't anything that I've seen before.
Ever the scientist, Katara. I remember you were quite good at observation while you worked in my wing over at Nest. You'll find out more details soon enough. I'm playing things close to the chest for now. But I'm curious, what's your stake in this, Katara? Why are you hanging around such brutish people? What do you have to gain out of this? What ambition can this possibly serve?
An ambition that I've been slowly paving the way for over time. Started back in Raccoon and came to now.
If ever you want to pursue your ambitions a little farther, let me know and stop bombing my facilities, and I may be able to take you in. You see, our research right now is the most cutting edge, especially in regards to viral technology.
Cutting edge, you say? Anything willing to share?
Not at the moment, but I suppose you've seen our handiwork with the Plagas. We've made some improvements since that parasite came out of Spain. Faster acting, turns its recipients in about 24 hours. And I suppose I owe you some thanks for contributing some of our more promising work.
What do you mean?
I suppose I'll save that one as a surprise as well.
I've done no such contributions to you on the...
Oh, not willingly. But rest assured, your legacy will be stained with blood.
Kind of narrows her eyes at this guy now.
It's okay. Stained with blood isn't that. My legacy is stained with blood.
Look at her and be like, I'm pretty sure this conversation's over. And then like kind of like glance back at him. No worries, we're gonna come for you next. And then like swing my shotgun like a baseball bat to the webcam and like crack it as hard as possible.
The monitor is still on, but he doesn't seem to be getting a picture anymore. He's just like, primitive. But nonetheless, I suppose if that is your goal, then I will be seeing you soon enough. Then the transmission ends.
Great. So a socially awkward nerd is now our biggest enemy.
He's not a nerd. He's our target.
Using some newfound keycards, they continue exploring the facility. They enter the living quarters, in which they find 2 more files. One further explores the history of the Felicianos, and the other is a diary belonging to Dr. Campbell, in which she comments on the regenerators they have in storage. Later, in the security room, they find surveillance recordings, as well as a tape of Emil locked up in one of the cells.
What's taking you so long? Why haven't you killed me yet?
Hello, Emil.
You. What are you doing here? No, that explains a lot, actually.
Yeah, I suppose it would. My apologies for all the pretense, and my sincerest condolences about the girl. You know, I didn't intend for things to go down this way.
This way?
Well, if I'd known you intended the manifold any harm, I would have given Ernesto warning. Perhaps then he wouldn't have reacted so violently. But nonetheless, I think my original purpose is still intact. I want you to join us, Emil.
Join you? I've dedicated my life's work to stopping people like you, concerned with power and destruction. You've taken these miracles and corrupted them.
It's not all about that, Emil. It's about dignity. You and I, we bled for this country, and what did it ever do for us? We get back home and we can't even tell the truth about what we did. We watched our friends die, and Eddie can't even afford to send his kids to college. You see, Jack understood that.
Jack? Jack's disappearance was no accident then.
That's right. He knew the risks when he volunteered for the Tyrant program.
I can't believe this. What happened to you, Scott? All this talk about dignity, but it sounds to me like it's about money. Is that what it took to turn you?
The manifold pays in more than just money. They've given me something our government never did. The truth about Operation Greenhouse. You see, Dr. Walker has shared his umbrella files liberally. And that's just the beginning. The manifold has done a lot for me. It's given me a life, a cause to fight for. They've empowered me out of the depths the army left me in. But more so than that, they've given me power itself. If we continue, immortality will be within my grasp. But I don't want to spend an endless lifetime without the only people I've ever called family. You see, there's nothing I want more than for you and Eddie to join me in immortality.
I see. You think you have something here. You don't. You think you could achieve immortality? You can't.
You say that like it's up to you.
It is. I am the only one who is blessed with the knowledge to achieve such a goal. I have glimpsed the future, Scott, but it is tainted by the legacy of Umbrella.
Umbrella's over, Emil. We are the future now.
Know one thing. I am not helping you. You are helping me. You ask for immortality, and I have the answer. Now take me to the dawn. I have a meeting to resume.
You're not going to the dawn, Emil. Why don't you come with me to the communications room? There's someone I'd like you to meet.
After learning of Emil's fate, they remain in the security room. From there, they unlock the rest of the facility and free Dr. Campbell from her cell. However, as they do so, Chauncey, in his infected state, is overcome with the sudden compulsion to attack both the scientist and his allies with his knife. Seeing his red eyes, Katara realizes something is amiss. They wrestle with Chauncey for a bit, and in doing so manage to smack him back to his senses. With Dr. Campbell in tow, they head to the laboratory area. In the morgue, a dark and disfigured creature emerges from a body bag. They soon find that this is one of the regenerators Dr. Campbell had warned them of, which heals itself as they attempt to fight back. However, using infrared goggles they retrieved in the security room, Chauncey is able to bypass its regeneration by attacking the parasites within it. Afterwards, they find a machine capable of removing the plaga from its host, but it lacks a power source, which they suspect is held by Don Feliciano himself. With this realization, they hear alarms sounding throughout the facility as the self-destruct system is activated. As the alarm counts down, the party makes their way for the hangar in the back of the facility. On their way, they hear an elevator delivering more thugs to their floor. To slow them down, the party releases a regenerator from its containment, which proves fruitful as they hear the cries of the reinforcements behind them while running for the doors. Inside the underground hangar, they fight their way past a handful of guards as Don Feliciano escapes to the surface in a helicopter. However, another helicopter is present, which Mr. G is well qualified to pilot. The party gets on board, and after a brief aerial chase, Katara shoots the Don's chopper out of the sky. Landing at the crash site, they find Don Feliciano still alive as he emerges from the wreckage.
The tides, oh, how the tides have turned. Like, you got me whenever I was at my weakest. I'm gonna get you while you're at yours. And I'm just gonna run up and like kick him in the face. And you said advantage, I don't need it.
You just plant your boot in his face and just kick him to the ground with a bit more force and gusto than perhaps you intended. You almost like dislodge his jaw a bit as you kick his face into the mud. And you see him just like right his jaw back into place. You certainly take after your father.
Nah, I'm not a coward.
Well, I see how it is. You know, for a moment, and he sort of starts standing up, and now is just like towering over you at this close proximity. You know, you guys have been quite a pain in my butt this past day. Now, I've been the Don of the biggest crime syndicate in the Midwest for 25 years. I'm not about to get stopped by a couple of no-lives that don't know what they're getting into. You see, you're in the big leagues now. And when you're in the big leagues, you're gonna have to throw down with the best. At this moment, you see his head shoot back, and his neck just splits open, and out of it comes this snouted head, and it just has like these sharp fangs sticking out of it, and the rest of his body begins to contort and transform. He grows a great deal larger. And as he does, you see like one hand just kind of mangle and just this big claw, almost crab-like claw tears out of it. And a number of tentacles come out of his back, and his suit just like tears apart as this figure just sort of takes his place. He's covered in like this shell-like skin and his natural armor. A number of eyeballs are kind of protruding out of some of the bits of natural armor plating, with this head that doesn't seem to have any eyes on it at all, with this long, almost animalistic snout.
The party battles his monstrous mutated form in the midst of the woods. The fight is long and intense. Chauncey tanks the front lines with his shotgun and uses an antidote gas grenade provided by Dr. Campbell to immediately deal significant damage. Mr. G pilots the helicopter about the battlefield with the scientists, but the Dawn uproots and hurls trees at it. Realizing the chopper is in dire condition, Mr. G lands it. After disembarking, Dr. Campbell assists with her tool casting, while Katara goes to aid Chauncey. But as the fight rages on, another helicopter nears as the party hears Cambria announce her arrival over the airwaves, before throwing a rocket launcher to the ground.
How do you want to do this?
So Katara picks up that rocket launcher, and seeing this thing run away, she runs 40 up here, and then she aims in at this guy, and she's just like, "Hey, Don! I think your term's up." And then gets on one knee, aims in, and just...
And as the rocket fires out, you see this golden warhead with these tail fins eject out of the back end and send it into a spiral as it impacts directly against his chest and just obliterates him in his upper torso into pieces as a huge chunk of him gets taken out. And by the time the fire, which utterly darkens everything around it, fades and the smoke begins to subside, you just see a bunch of fleshy bits falling to the ground and his upper torso just missing and the spinal column just sort of standing in place where it once was before this entire figure slumps down.
After defeating Don Feliciano, they retrieve the power source, which takes the form of a glowing blue orb, and use it to power the Plaga removal machine. With this machine, they rid Chauncey and Cambria of their infection. Meanwhile, Katara and Mr. G disarm the facility's self-destruct system, preserving the estate for future use. In the aftermath, the BSAA raids the grounds as the world watches through the abundant news coverage. Mr. G then returns to debrief with the CIA, and his handler Mr. Fox gives him a new assignment. Without its leadership, the Feliciano crime family crumbles. The BSAA eventually confiscates the Feliciano family's property, repurposing it as an extra base of operations for their North American branch. For his service, Chauncey is given the honor of commanding and naming this new base.
the Feliciano, what was once the Feliciano estate, what was once what you guys read in the newspaper clippings as a symbol of fear and terror to the Chicago population, is now being converted into a new camp, taking the job as supervising officer at that camp. They do actually give you some input. They're like, yeah, is there anything you want to name it? Or should we just throw that over to the think tank?
BSAA, the Clancy branch.
Well, we'll just call it Camp Clancy to stick with the...
Yeah, that's good.
Camp Clancy
That
it
works.
is.
Chauncey sells his house and moves to Chicago, the town in which he was born and raised, to lead this new base of operations, as the rest of the party again goes their separate ways for the coming months. And that concludes the story of the Felicianos.